Welcome. It's good to be here. Just, taking you all in and taking the time and the time we're in, and how wonderful to be doing Zazen together. So everybody will get enlightened this retreat. Just remember I said so. We have, some good omens. Michelle and Alice and I were talking about art for the retreat, and years ago, Mayumi Oda we used to use her big 12, huge banners, and Michelle thought, what about them? So Michelle called Mayumi, and I knew that had happened because just a bit later, I got a call from Mayumi saying, John, good news. And I said, what, Mayumi, what? But it was, she had banners in San Francisco, so it was very easy for Michelle to go pick them up. So she said, anything for PZI. So, and she used to, teach with us and so on. So we've got that on the one hand. And got Michael Hoffman's paintings on the wall. And at the very end of the room, she'll probably talk. Are you going to talk about your painting? Okay, she won't talk about it, so I will shall. The birds all on a string, and one of them has a human face, which has Tessa's eyes, you may notice. And we were talking about, I said, Alison, why don't you bring a painting? And she said, I don't know what to bring. And I said, what about a new painting you just finished? She said, I never thought of that. And I said, what koan is it? She said, taking part in the gathering, which was started long before, nothing to do with our retreat. So, and that's the great Yamamoto Genpo, the great Japanese Rinzai master, now long dead. But, and it says barrier, which was his gift to us. Barrier. So, all is well. We have the attendance of the great figures with us. Yamamoto Genpo is with us. Robert Aitken gave me that, so he's with us. So we decided to call this retreat Taking Part in the Gathering because, it's our first one after a while of not being together. And it's a noble thing to gather together for the Dharma. And it has hidden effects that if we thought about it from afar, we think, I don't know. But when we're together, we can feel, oh yeah, it's happening. I can feel it in my heart and my soul and my fingers. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing you've come, and it's a good thing we're sitting together. So thank you. And the gathering was always part of the Dharma. And the Dharma is always something that happens among us. Enlightenment happens together. Our mission statement, PZI, a culture for awakening. Koans, what a surprise. Koans, art, very intrinsic to the Dharma. Conversation, also intrinsic to the Dharma. The other one is meditation, but that's kind of covered by koans, So, so I thought so this old poem, very old poem, it's before the great koans that you would have heard of, very early in our tradition, right at the founding when everything was starting to explode and develop. And so it's really just like a Daoist current. Like I read it and I think, what was that? And it went by me. So I get in the river again and take the ride, and I think, what was that? And then gradually it seeps into me. And so we're taking part in the gathering. That's what happens together. And it was Shitou who was a very early teacher, and his teacher said, I have many beasts in my garden, but only one unicorn. And that was Shitou. So we are studying with a unicorn. Good to bear in mind. And so the piece I gave you as a koan is just a sample. It's really all about what he says, how emptiness pervades form. And he says in this very eloquent way, but all things intermingle and don't intermingle. And this intermingling goes on and on. And each thing stands in its place. So as you begin to wake up, you think, wow, everything is everything else, as they're all entangled. And then your teacher will say, it's not like that at all. And you'll work on it and you'll say, well, what about just this? Just this, your hand, the tree, your friend, your enemy. What about just this? And you go, yeah, I get it. It's just this. You say, no, it's not. They're all intermingled. Or she'll say, and you can tell, oh, that's it, isn't it? It's always flowing, and each thing holds it completely. So if we hear the birds at twilight, which you can hear even over the air purifier to some degree, and then also we'll hear the birds at dawn, which is very early now, but the birds will probably wake you. And it's about 4 o'clock in these parts. And the birds, there's this soft chirping and an announcement is being made. The day, the day, the day, no other day, this day. The birds are making the announcement, and at night it's more like goodbye, goodbye. The night, no other night, just this. And no other you, just you. Can't be exchanged. You can't. Ma Tzu, who knew Shitou, he said, over countless eons, no being has ever fallen out of the samadhi of Buddha nature. So there you have it. But you know what it means, don't you? There's that sense of, oh, we've been here, this Buddha nature that everybody has and everybody shares, countless eons. So we partake of something ancient. And we can't really get away from that. And on the other hand, it's morning and the birds sing this way, and it's evening and they sing that way. And we can't really get away from that either. And so that's what Shitou talks about as intermingling, which is kind of cool, And you can feel that, if you look at the world is looking at you. And everything you see, you're intermingled with. Matsu had this great saying, he may have learned it from Shitou, I don't know. And he had this great saying that mountains, rivers, and the great earth, the sun, the moon, and the stars are no other than your own heart-mind. Your own heart, your own mind, your thoughts and feelings. So, and you can sort of tell that. So the trees, the birds are teaching us the Dharma, but then so are you. And so is your face. And so if you look at my hand, you've got something to do with that. You're intermingled with it. But if you hold up your hand, hold it up where we can all see it, Yeah, look, we're all intermingled with each hand too, you know. And if you look at your hand, what do you think your hand thinks about you intermingling with? It's like, I don't know, it says, you know, seems all right, you know. Then you look at someone in the dojo. What do you think they think about being intermingled with you? Because you are. You think, I don't know about that, you know. It's like their fingers, do they want to be intermingled with the hand? I don't know if they are, but then if you look at a person's face, you'll see the whole of the great teachings is in the beauty of their face and the peace that comes when we just enter the dojo. The mind naturally goes quiet, and if it doesn't, we think, oh, it's not quiet, then it's quiet in that. And the peace comes, and so there's an enormous, for me, joy and peace in beginning Sesshin. Because you're walking into the path, into the temple of the ancestors, and it's here. And if you feel the carpet, it's under your feet, you know. It's a good thing to the whole thing that the student said, I've just entered this temple. How should I find the way? Do you hear the stream? Yes, I do. Enter there. Enter here. Do you hear the air purifier? Enter here. Do you feel the carpet underneath you? A very durable carpet by the feeling of it. Enter here. Do you see the face of the pilgrim in your view? Just look at somebody. Yeah. Dare to look at somebody. Hard for introverts, you know. But you're looking at your own true face too. Yeah. And so we're in this together, you know. Shocking news. You know. But it's true, and you can feel Ma Zu knew what he was talking about that heart-mind stuff, you know. And it's in our lineage because, you know, that was what great Yamada Koan woke up with, that Koan. Woke him up in the middle of the night, laughing, frightening his family, who thought, my God, he's done so much Zen, he's gone mad. You know. So, but yeah, the mountains, rivers, and the great earth, the sun, the moon, and the stars. No other than your own heart, mind. You know. So, what else? I want to say a couple of things about Shitou. And you can tell he was just really trying to say what's reality like. And in a way, it's an odd thing because as soon as you walk into the dojo, or even before you walk into the dojo, think of Sesshin, suddenly you start to be here, which is different from not being here. and it's a marvelous thing. And so as the thoughts fall out of our minds, and the comparisons, notice how, well, what do they think of me? What do I think of them? You know, and you think, I don't know, it doesn't seem a very interesting way to spend my life, you know. So as we become here at peace, the thoughts settle, a peace appears, and each thing stands in its own place, you know. And Shitou had the story is that he had a great revelation. He was reading a sacred text, and the passage said, the one who realizes that the myriad things are one's own self. The one who realizes the myriad things are, if you realize the myriad things are your own self, look at your hand again. See, there they are, the myriad things, right there. Your own self, that is, one is no different from all the sages. In other words, when we enter here, we meet the minds of the great ancestors of Shitou and Matsu and Buddha and all those characters. All the great, and it's a marvelous thing to understand, oh, I can just, when I walk in the dojo, I walk into their heart and mind, which is not a small thing. And so, you know, that's why we do this crazy thing. Like, oh, wow. Why wasn't I informed before? I would have started much earlier. And he had a dream, and this is another thing too, the dreams come and start to carry us, and he was with the sixth ancestor, just a couple of generations up from him, and he was riding on the back of a great tortoise swimming in the sea. So, Buddha nature itself is carrying him, just the way it carries the great ancestor. And he was kind of pretty pleased with his dream. But you do get dreams like that. You get confirmatory dreams that tell you, oh, you're on the path. Nice thing. And then you can tell the conversational question and answer and going directly to the source. The response doesn't answer the question in the usual way by thinking about things. It takes you straight into the source. And so Daoist asked Shitou, who was the rightful heir of the sixth ancestor? Because there was that fuss about transmission, who's legitimate and not. And which is some very funny things to tell you about that, but so I'll tell you later. Because transmission is in your own heart. It's not out there. Transmission is in your own heart, not out there. And who obtained the essential teachings of the sixth ancestor? Who got the essential transmission? And Shitou said, the one who understands Buddha Dharma attained it. Hold up your hand again. It's you. And you tell that Shitou probably thought this was just a really funny question. But then Daoist said, innocently and beautifully, I don't understand Buddha Dharma. And Shitou replied, he asked him, did you, he said, the one who understands Buddha Dharma attained it. Did you obtain it? Said the student, Daoist. And I don't understand Buddha Dharma, said Shitou. It's the inside the vastness. There's no one who knows, no one who stands outside to know. In the water blessing, we say Manjushri in the empty palace. There are no explanations, no theories, no stories about who or who has or who doesn't, like that. And this confused Daoist even further, of course. But on the other hand, to take away someone's ideas is not really to confuse them. It's the beginning of a sacred entering into the mystery, into the not knowing. And then someone else said, how do I get emancipated? How do I become free? How do I break my chains? How do I get emancipated? Who has put you in bondage? And so the monk didn't know what to do with that, so said, what is the Pure Land? Who has defiled you and made you impure? What is Nirvana? Who has placed you in birth and death? If Nirvana transcends birth and death, who has placed you in birth and death? Somebody asked Zhao a very complicated question about the ultimate reality. I think it's, what was the Dharmakaya? And I'm not sure that's the question, but it doesn't really matter what the question is, does it? He said, what is the Dharmakaya? And he said, what do you dislike that you asked that question? You can tell, like, oh, if I'm already free, what if the face I'm looking for is mine? The true face is in my own heart. And so, kind of cool who has placed you in birth and death. So you can see right at the very beginning of the tradition, you can see the great flowering of the koan tradition. It was just putting out, it had come out of the seed and it was putting little branches, like a plant does, and a few flowers on it. And then this great saying, I understand, the student said, I understand the scriptures of Buddhism, but I hear that in the South, the Zen practitioners, the barbarians, directly point to the human mind. That's you, barbarians. They see their natures and become Buddhas. That's you too, right? Who else is going to be? Who else is going to do this for us? We can't outsource this. The Indians are too busy becoming enlightened themselves. This is still not clear to me. I humbly ask you to explain it. So, a beautiful question. And Shitou said, this way won't do and not this way won't do. And Shitou said, you ought to go see Mao Tzu. And Yao Shan paid his respects to Mao Tzu and asked the same question. Mao Tzu said, they see their nature and become Buddhas. That's the question he's answering. Sometimes I make him raise his eyebrows and blink. Sometimes raising the eyebrows, sometimes I do not make him raise his eyebrows and blink. Sometimes raising the eyebrows and blinking is all right. Sometimes raising the eyebrows and blinking is not all right. How about you? Hearing these words, Yao Shan was greatly awakened. Always nice when that happens. But it might happen to you. It doesn't happen somewhere else. It doesn't happen in some other room that's more, I don't know, doesn't have a sound machine. It only happens in rooms with sound machine. Or at least for the duration of this retreat. And the birds in the morning and the birds in the evening. So, he was awakened and he bowed. Mao Tzu said, this is a good thing to, what do you see that makes you bow? I can tell something's happened, but do you have words for it? And Yao Shan said, when I was with Shitou, I was like a mosquito biting into an iron ox. Famous words, actually. That's what it feels like. Have you ever been stuck on a koan? If you haven't been stuck on a koan, put up your hand. And it's like the mosquito biting the iron ox. That's not a bad metaphor for it. I was like a mosquito climbing on an iron ox. And Mao Tzu says, since you've realized the truth, guard it well. Seems redundant, but nonetheless, he's saying the road keeps opening and moving on, so you have a glimpse. And there's no large or small in awakening, but nonetheless, it's like your awakening will keep developing. And you'll notice that. From an intimation to, oh, it's that, and then, what about this other thing? Is it that too? Like and he said, well, since you've realized the truth, guard it well. But still, your master is Shitou. In other words, you really come in that line. And that's a true thing sometimes. You'll find that. That's the thing about lineage. And sometimes there's a certain sort of passing off. The student is with one teacher, and they just get so frustrated, they go to the other teacher, and then they awaken. But the first teacher had a lot to do with that. Had the courtesy to frustrate and not help. And one day, Yao Shan went back to Shitou, and then one day there was a kind of true meeting because seeing Yao Shan sitting zazen, Shitou said, "What are you doing here?" "No, I'm not doing anything at all," said Shitou. "What did you do at that Santa Sabina place?" "Well, not much. Sat around, walked." "What are you doing?" "I'm not doing anything at all." "In that case, you're sitting idly," said the teacher. "If I were sitting idly, then I'd be doing something." And Yao Shan said, "You say you're not doing anything. What is this not doing?" And Yao Shan said, "Not even the 10,000 sages know." So you can see that as the explanations fall out, when you're one, when the heart, mind, and the trees, and the birds, and the darkening of the evening, you don't have to have a theory about it. You can't explain it. But it can enter you fully, and you can enter it. It is you. Your own heart, mind. So a long time ago, I was working with a colleague, with Joan Southern, who's studied Koans with us, and we thought that this poem was worth translating. So that's what we're doing today. We're exploring it, and you and everything you perceive are intermingled and not intermingled. And this intermingling goes on, and each thing stands in its own place. So there you have it.